Good morning, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Top 10 Songs Sunday Brunch with Rich Catino. Today, we're going to take a look at our favorite songs from a powerhouse U.S. band, Armored Saint. Good morning, Rich. How are you?
Good morning. Doing good. Watching the snow come down. Another snowy Sunday.
Yep. Rich and I live in states right next to each other, and usually what he gets is either just before or just after us. And
Right.
I think the snow kind of started right around the same time for both of us. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's February in the Northeast. I mean, that's what happens. So
Another 3 to 6 inches on top of 18 plus.
yeah, we got over 2 feet here. So, thankfully, some of it's melted over the last couple of days because we've had temperatures in the upper 30s to low 40s for like 3 days in a row. So it doesn't quite look as massive as what we had early last week. But I mean, more today. They're calling for more later in the week. I'm like, oh, man.
Yep.
But and like we said off camera, it's like, all this snow, on top of a pandemic where you can't go anywhere anyway. It's just like, kind of makes you feel like that great Armored Saint song called Isolation, right? It's like
there you go.
Yeah. So I will go on record as saying, going into this show, I thought this was going to be an easier test than it was. And it's funny when it's a band you really dig a lot. You have your favorite songs, but I think I underestimated how many favorite songs I have from this band. So this was really hard for me.
Yeah.
Really hard for me. I kept like pulling stuff in and out of my top 10 thing. No, I think I like that song a little bit better. It's like, and I was like agonizing over some of these picks. So I will say my top 10 today, if we were to do this again next week, would probably be completely different.
I think so too for me. But I realized that a few of their obvious hits and ones that they play live, I had to put in here, even though they're just obvious hits.
Yeah.
Just because I always liked them, especially from their first 4 albums.
Yeah, I mean, those first 4 are absolutely great. And, truth be told, my whole list could have been just from those first 4 albums. But then I realized how much I liked these last couple albums. And
I had to mix it up a little bit.
Big time. I mean, there are songs from the last 2 albums that I really love. And I was like, you know what? I got to squeeze them in here as well. So I'm really interested to see your list. So get us started with your number 10.
All right. So I'm going to start with the one from 2000 from Revelation. So Pay Dirt. That's the opening track from that album.
That's a good one. Yep.
That's a good song. It's heavy. It kicks a lot of ass. It's one of their aggressive arrangements. And it came out at an interesting time too, because that's when Ozfest, new metal, all that trendy Hot Topic, noisy, screamo crap was going on. But in 2000, there was a lot of, I got a picture here, a collage, a lot of traditional metal, a little bit of thrash, not much. Power metal, a little bit of prog. So all that stuff was still around. So people still had choices.
Oh yeah.
Instead of listening to other stuff. So Revelation came out in the same year with all these albums, if you could see them there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I see Fate's Warning there. I see Ed Guy. I see Dio. I see Stradivarius. See how many I can name here. Virgin Steel, Pretty Maids.
Brave New World,
Nevermore. Yep. I see a little King Diamond action going on there.
Yep.
Maiden. Yep. Like you mentioned. Yeah. I mean, a lot of great stuff, right? Symphony X.
Yeah. Symphony X 5 Millennium. I don't know if you know that band Millennium. They were great.
Oh yeah.
Right. So there was a lot of choices.
Energy. Wow. That's a great album. Holy shit.
So there was a lot of choices in 2000 of, the classic heavy metal sounds.
Yeah.
So this came out at a good time.
Plus that kick-ass Yngwie album too.
Right?
Yep. Yeah, very cool. I mean, Armored Saint has never released a bad album.
I don't think bad, but maybe a little off was, what was the title? La Raza?
But even that's a pretty good album. That's not terrible, I don't think. I mean, is it their weakest one? Sure.
Yeah.
But I think even their weakest album blows away some albums by a lot of other bands.
True.
You know what it is? That album never stayed the course of what they do. They might have their weakest songwriting and the least memorable songs, but I still think it sounds like Armored Saint.
Yeah, it does. But you're right. It's not one of my favorites.
Yeah.
That's why I put Pay Dirt in there, because it was a good album, and it was after they were gone for several years too. They weren't working and making records for, let's see, Symbol of Salvation was 91. So it was 9 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's a
I
good
mean,
return.
John joined Anthrax and kind of Armored Saint was kind of left in the wings for quite a while, sadly.
Right,
You
right.
have to wonder, had that not happened, um, how big could Armored Saint have gotten? I don't know.
Right.
They've
True.
always been like at a certain level. They were never a
Yeah.
huge band. They were
Right.
above underground. Most folks have always liked them, but never like a big mainstream band. It's a
Right.
shame because I think their material warrants it or warranted it. I don't know.
Yeah. And
But
this just came out at a tough time, like I said, in 2000.
yeah,
When all
yeah,
the other trending and trendy subgenres were happening.
yeah, yeah. So that's a good
But
choice.
yeah, thanks.
I went for my number 10. I went to the new one, Punching the Sky. I went with a song called My Jurisdiction.
Cool.
Great song. I love this album. I
It's a
listened to
great
this
album.
album so much last
Yeah.
year.
It was in my top 5 from last year.
Yeah, I mean, one of those metal albums from this crappy year we had last year that
Mhm.
was, a breath of fresh air last year. I mean, I think any good album that came out last year was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
So much of it, we were just starving for new music, and so many bands were not releasing stuff just, because of all that was going on. And when this came out, I was like, oh, thank God, right? But just
Yeah.
such a great song. Love the chorus. I mean, John Bush, we got to say it. This guy has not lost a step in like close to 40 years. He sounds the
No,
same today as he did in the 80s.
it actually sounds better, I think, today.
You know what? I wouldn't argue that. I would not.
I really like the way he sings on the first 4, but I noticed that some of the songs, it's kind of like he's straining a little bit, the voice. And this, I think he's got more polish from La Raza going forward on the last 3.
Yeah. Well, he knows how to deliver his voice.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows whatever limitations he might have, he knows what they are. He plays to
Yeah.
his strengths. But I mean, I saw them live a couple of years ago on the Win Hands Down tour, and I was amazed at how great he sounded. I hadn't seen them live in ages, and I was like, "Geez, this guy has not lost a step at all." And another reason why I love My Jurisdiction. It's a great anthem. It's heavy. I mean, Joey Vera's bass.
Yeah.
I mean, what a bass player this guy is. He's
Right.
so freaking solid. He's not like a
Yeah.
Billy Sheehan guy, but he's so solid.
Right.
And you hear him on every record, every song. The
Right.
riffs on this song are great. It's a great song from a great album. I love this record. So that's my number 10.
All right. Well, you can hold that up again because my number 9 is that from that album, End of the Attention Span.
Oh, another great one.
That was the first single.
Yeah.
That is such a great traditional Armored Saint, polished. It could fit on even Symbol of Salvation.
Hell yeah. Yeah. There's
You know,
not a bad song on this album.
great riff, great rhythm, great hook. They're just so good at that with that traditional metal approach.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely, that's a great pick. I like
Instant,
it.
instant
I had a hard
catchiness,
time. I knew I wanted to throw a track or two from this album, and then it was just like, well, which ones do I do, right?
Right.
But I've gravitated towards a couple of them. I think a little bit more. So yeah, that's a great choice. Anyone from this album is a good choice. All right, so my number 9, I'm going to go to the last album they did prior to this one, which is Win Hands Down, for a song called Mess. Heavy.
Cool.
I am not a huge lyric guy. I generally don't pay a ton of attention to lyrics. I'm more of like the music and the vocals and not so much the message behind the lyrics. But
True.
I mean, there's so much on this album and even the new album that is just, I mean, it's basically like a testimony to all the shit that's going on in the world the last bunch of years, right? And
Yeah.
Mess is, not only is it just a heavy song with a great groove to it, I mean, the lyrics are all about just how much the human race is just messing up this planet, right? I mean, it's just, it's catchy, but there's a real serious tone to it. And yeah, I can relate to it because it's like, we're screwing up this planet in so many ways, and
Yeah.
a lot of stuff is, lyrically on this album is all about, war and how the countries can't get along, how we're messing up the environment, all that kind of stuff. And if you care at all about that, you can't help but not, be moved by it. So yeah, Mess. My favorite song off this album, another really, really great. This one and Punch in the Sky, terrific albums that stack up with anything they've done before, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. 8, going with Out on a Limb from Raising Fear.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a cool song. I really like
cool song. Yeah.
I really like the mid pace, just simple and to the point, catchy riff, traditional metal songs. And they're so good at doing it. And that's a great one off of this album.
Yeah.
Great melody. What's that?
That's a really good album.
Yeah. I love the artwork too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a great hook, great riff, very singable. They're very good at doing that.
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw this band, it was on their first tour. They opened up for Metallica and Wasp. And this is when they were still wearing the armor. And I remember that had like kind of like a cool novelty effect and everything. But I remember like sitting there in the audience thinking, these guys are great. I love the songs because I was really into the first album at the time. And then I was thinking, but they're going to have to lose this gimmick, I think, because they don't need it. They need it. You have bands like War and a lot of people say Kiss and all that kind of stuff who they, the gimmick really helped them. I never thought Armored Saint needed to do that. I mean, I get, they made a bit of a splash with that in the beginning, but then, I mean, they dropped the stuff like within 2-3 years, I think they stopped wearing the armor.
I think after the first album, I don't think they did it on Delirious Nomad, right?
Yeah, they definitely did it they didn't have it on the album. I don't know. I didn't see them on the second tour, but just a great band. Great band.
Let me see. Yeah, by the time you get to Delirious Nomad, they're already in normal clothes.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah. Which I never understood this artwork.
Yeah. What does it have to do with the title of the album, right?
Right. Like, where's the Delirious Nomad? This is just more of like the window washer or something. I don't know. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I remember buying that LP back in the day and thinking, all right, that's a pretty.
I don't know. If I ever interviewed Joey about it.
The album ranked.
When I interviewed Joey like a few months ago, I should have asked Joey Bear when I interviewed him a few months ago, but I didn't. But next time, if I interview the guys again, I got to ask them what's the story behind that.
Yeah, there probably is no story. And maybe the record label had something to do with it. It's a terrible cover.
Right.
Yes, album, but a terrible album.
Right. Yeah. There's so many of those bands that are infamous for that from the 80s.
Yeah.
They didn't have a decision made. The record company just picked it and they said, okay, this is your album cover.
Yeah.
We got a deadline. So this is what we're going with.
This is what we're going with. Yeah. No, well. All right. I'm going to dip back into Punch in the Sky one more time here on my list for number 8, Fly in the Ointment.
Nice.
I mean,
great title too.
Yeah, so good. You kind of hinted at it before. I love when these guys do that kind of mid-paced, moody metal thing. This one's just, it's melodic. It's got, it fluctuates from heavy to slower. Killer John Bush vocal, and man, that when they kick into that riff, it's just so freaking powerful. And then he comes in with the chorus right after it. Oh, it just kills me every time I hear it. That's one of those songs, I've been listening to this album a ton over the last year since it first came out. And this is one of the ones, especially when I'm playing it in the car, driving around. Not that I'm doing much driving around these days, but one of those songs where once it plays and it finishes, I always rewind it and hear it
Go
again.
back.
Yeah, I've done it numerous times. Great song. I can't stress enough how good Punching the Sky is. Really good album. So back to you for number 7.
All right. Going to Symbol of Salvation and Last Train Home.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Talk about another great hook, right?
Oh,
so this is from, let's see, this came out in 1991. And this is the first album with Jeff Duncan replacing Dave Pritchard, the original guitarist who passed away, unfortunately.
Yeah.
This is such a great, solid album to begin with. This shows their evolution and their growth so much from the first few albums, and it just solidified it. But Last Train Home is just like a melodic AOR almost type of a radio rock song. It's
total anthem. It's a total anthem. Yeah.
Yep. It's very different for them for what they've previously done, but it fits great on this album because they tried a few different things on this album, a little more melody and things like that, and it worked great. And I saw this tour actually 2 years ago, I think it was 2019 or 2018 when they played the whole album in its entirety.
Yeah, I think it was 18. I saw that tour also. Awesome.
Yep. It was in New York at Gramercy, maybe?
I think they played the Gramercy. They played the Gramercy and they played the Chance up here. Yeah, that was fantastic. It's funny. After I saw that show, I said to myself, you know what? Because I've often thought about what is my favorite Armored Saint album. It's kind of hard to pick one.
Yeah,
But after I saw that show, I was like, you know what? I think that is my favorite album.
it is
It's just
for me
so
too.
strong, start to finish.
Yeah, yep.
Not that the ones
It
before
still
it.
has and it still has Pritchard on the album too for writing songs and music credit. So
Yeah, they were working on a lot of those tunes before he passed away.
yeah, yeah. So
Great,
it's cool to have him on that.
great album. All right, I'm gonna go to the Delirious Nomad for my number 7, a song called Aftermath.
Nice. They play that live still once in a while, right?
Yeah. That's kind of like that moody, kind of almost progressive, lengthy piece by them. Again, I love the fluctuation between the atmospheric parts, and then they come in with the big guitar riffs, and and then Pritchard just unleashes these great solos towards the end of the song. Just a great track, great vocals from John. I mean, there's so many great songs on this album.
Yes.
This was really tough. Like, when you've got like 4 or 5 albums that are just top to bottom so strong, it's like, all right, which ones do I pick out of here to put on this freaking list? That this was really hard. So many great songs.
And they showed such growth too from March of the Saint up to this album.
Yeah.
Even the production too. Production on this album.
Production was way, leaps and bounds. I mean, I always said that I think the first album had great songs. Production was a little lacking. Like, could you imagine if the production of the guitars was a little beefier, a little crunchier? Then that becomes all of a sudden a legendary debut.
Right. This is I think when I looked at the credits, if I'm correct, was Max Norman on this? Are they right? Yes, Max Norman produced this. So that's why it sounds better too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going back to that album for my next song for number 6. The one before that, For the Sake of Heaviness, which is cool. I like the little bass thing that's in there.
Yeah.
Right. And the fade in, and then you got the accenting leads and their solo, like the soloing, the ride out is so great. There's so much playing in this song on this album.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. That's a great one. I really like that song.
Yeah, I dig it too. I'm going to stay on that album. How about Over the Edge?
3 in a row, huh?
Edge, man, I know, right? For me, Over the Edge is, this band always had a ton of groove. I mean, Gonzo and Joey make a wonderful rhythm section, and I think they don't get credit. And I love the kick-ass riff on that song. And again, there's loads of atmosphere on a lot of their early stuff, which I really dig. And John Bush just over the top, just amazing on this particular song. So, but I agonized over which songs to pull from this album, because this for many years, probably until I started to really appreciate this one, this was my favorite Armored Saint album for quite a while.
I think for me too.
Yeah.
I like it better than the debut, even though it's a classic. Still like the
I agree. I think that the debut has arguably some of their most iconic songs, but I think this album is stronger start to finish.
Yeah.
All right, top 5.
Top 5. Speaking of the debut, so I'm going with Mutiny on the World.
Yeah.
I really like the gallop in the chorus. That gallop, that traditional Maiden type of a thing, almost like a power metal type of a chorus.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that really stands out, actually, I think, for them, because they don't do that much. So that's why I picked that one. It's a little bit different for this album, and I think going forward too, they never really did that.
I think they did it more on the first album because, honestly, I think these guys were very influenced by the new wave of British heavy metal.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
But that's why I put that in my 5, because the previous, tracks I picked, they're unlike what this song is like.
Yeah. Yep.
So I threw that one in there. I like to go back to that one.
Good choice.
And very, very cool album art as well. Really love this.
I saw that in the record shop, not even really knowing anything about it, and I bought it just because of the
album. Same here. luckily they put this out before they put this out.
I definitely wouldn't have bought that.
If you're going with album cover, I wouldn't have bought this. I would have overlooked it. But this one, I'm sold.
Oh yeah. And even some of the other ones. Symbol of Salvation isn't great either, but I mean, Raising Fear is killer.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Where are we at 5? Okay, so I'm gonna go. Speaking of Symbol of Salvation, Dropping Like Flies.
That's a great one too.
Right. I mean, that
could have been in my 10 too. That was a runner-up.
Yeah. This was actually the last one that I put in my list because I went and re-listened to this album this morning. I was like, oh, how can I not? I mean, quite frankly, those two songs that kick off this album, Rain of Fire and Dropping Like Flies, and then Last Train Home, and then Tribal Dance. I mean, that's why it was so.
Too.
I mean, it's amazing. That's why it was so cool to see this.
The drum pattern in Tribal Dance. That's a great pattern. Yeah.
I mean, Gonzo is just killing it on there. I mean, this whole album is just so amazing, and that's why it was so cool to see them play this live. One track after another. It's so good. But back to Dropping Like Flies. I mean, I love the chorus. It's just so heavy. Loads of riffs and solos on this song, and John Bush just like have a rough man. That's just such a great chorus, and he's just like snarling up a storm. Great song. Love it. So that's my number 5.
Okay. Going back to the guy that's washing windows and Nervous Man.
Oh yeah, Nervous Man is great.
Another one with a great riff, great, just mid-tempo, punchy metal song, which they're great at doing. They come across live so well when they do these. And they do Nervous Man once in a while as well still.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard them play that live.
I think I heard him once do it. I don't remember what tour it was, but I know I heard it. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a big fan of those kind of songs. That's why there's 2 of them in here, because I did Out on a Limb as well.
Yeah, Out on a Limb, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I like the mid-pace stuff.
Yeah.
Very catchy, very hooky. I'm sold.
Yep. And I'm going to go back to what you were talking about before, the kind of galloping thing, which they only really did on the first album. Madhouse from the debut is another very kind of new wave of British heavy metal type of thing.
Yeah.
It's real fast, killer riffs. And again, obviously they were listening to their Maiden and their Saxon and, all those other time. And it really kind of permeated this first album. I've got to show that back cover too, that was also pretty cool right there. They're wearing armor and stuff like that. But a great album, not great production, but killer songs, and Madhouse, one of my favorites on this album.
And that's one of those songs that they could put on a greatest hits if they had to put one out, because they still play that live too.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it's like one of those mandatory tracks they always have to play.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of mandatory tracks that they have to always play, back to the debut and Can You Deliver? Because that's the first my first introduction to them. Seeing that video on MTV.
Arguably their best riff ever, right?
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah.
The most recognizable too. And that was 1984. So I don't remember when I would have seen the video, because MTV wasn't playing it during the day really. No. Headbangers Ball didn't come until 87 maybe?
I don't remember.
It's 86, 87. But I think when I saw it, you remember U68?
Yes.
It was a East Coast based channel that was like MTV, but they just played all heavy metal.
Yeah.
For like an hour, I think it was, from like 11 to midnight or something like that. That's, I think, where I saw it.
Could be.
Because I discovered a lot of metal bands that had videos that I didn't even think were out there before MTV started playing them. And I think I saw Can You Deliver on there.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when I first started seeing. I mean, they play that even later on. Like, Headbangers Ball sometimes would play like the older stuff a little bit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But at the time, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't know. Good video.
Yep. Yeah, I remember seeing it, I think, with like Grim Reaper, See You in Hell.
Oh,
because you'd never see that on, regular rotation for MTV until Headbangers Ball played it. Like that, or I remember seeing Celtic Frost, Circle of Tyrants.
Yep. And I think Metal Church had a video or two also, didn't they? Didn't they have a video for like Gods of Wrath or
When the Children Pray?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It's a long time ago.
Yeah, so that was a good channel for discovering a band like an Armored Saint or a Celtic Frost or something like that. That you wouldn't see on MTV regularly played until Headbangers Ball came around.
Yeah, exactly. All right, the top 3. My number 3, I'm going to go to the Raising Fear album, Chemical Euphoria.
Another one that they play still.
Yeah, that's another live concert favorite. Well, it's so fast, and it's just got this ferocious riff. The chorus is killer, and this is a really heavy album anyway.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
and good production too.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, here the band was kind of self-producing themselves on here with Chris Minto helping out, but
Were they?
yeah, and really
Okay.
cool album cover. I always thought.
Yes. I wish I had that on vinyl still. I don't think I have that one in the collection.
I had all
I
of
have
them on vinyl.
I have March of the Saint, but I have to go. There's pieces of my collection I got to fill in, and getting this on vinyl is one of them.
There you go. It's a
'Cause I did, like you've seen before, like on our Thrash episode. I have a lot of vinyl still that I kept.
Unfortunately, mine are all gone.
I got to try and fill in the gaps.
Got to just live with my CDs, and that's
Right.
That's all right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to that one too with the title track. What a great opener. Another great opener.
Yeah. It is.
Fast and heavy, but still catchy. That's what's great about Armored Saint. They're still catchy too. It's not overly aggressive, not overly heavy. Especially for that time too, in the 80s.
Yep.
And traditional metal. You know, because what else did you have that was traditional metal? Dio, Maiden, Priest, Saxon, Sabbath. You know, but I think Saint were a little more edgy than I think all that, right? Because they were better produced, those other bands.
Yeah, yeah.
And Saint was a little bit more, you know, rougher, slightly around the edges.
Yeah, I always kind of, the Armored Saint and Metal Church always kind of, somewhat of the same bracket, sort of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I love Raising Fear title track. So that's my number 2.
Really good one. Really good one. All right. Well, you already mentioned this one, but Can You Deliver from March of the Saints, my number 2.
So is this the only one that we picked that's the same? I think, right?
Yeah.
So we could make recommendations for greatest hits for them.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? We covered a lot of ground.
Double disc set or something like that, yeah. But yeah, Can You Deliver? I mean, Ritz already said it all. It's just a killer U.S. heavy metal classic from that time period. Just I love the riff. The chorus is great, and you know when they play it live, everybody's into it. So that's yeah, it had to be on this list. Had to be on this list.
Yeah, just one of those unavoidable ones.
Yep.
All right, the number 1. Let's see if ours are let's see if we're the same on this one. So, Rain of Fire from Symbol. You have the same pick?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's got everything that they did from their previous albums and just fine-tuned. You know, the riff, the melody, the twin guitars, the hook, everything is perfect on that song in this album. That's a perfect representation of what an Armored Saint song is, right?
Yep. And it's one of the all-time great kick off the album classics, and I can't believe I didn't even mention it when Butch Jones and I did a show a couple months ago about some of the best lead off tracks to an album, and I totally spaced on that one. Yeah, it's amazing first song to an album. Just unrelenting riff. I mean, Bush sounds incredible on this song. The chorus is great. You're absolutely right. It's if you're gonna introduce Armored Saint to someone who's never heard them before, that's probably the best song to do it.
Yeah, because it bridges their previous albums with what they would be doing in later albums too.
Yeah.
It's a great merging of the past and the present.
Yep, I agree. So we had 2 correct. We had two in sync. So
yeah, 2 of their hits.
2 of their hits. Yeah. There you go. You got any honorable mentions you want to throw out there?
Let me think. Give me a second. What do you got?
Well, I wanted to throw out Standing on the Shoulders of Giants from the new album. I love that. It's another great kickoff track. The title track to March of the Saints is classic too. I really dig that a lot. Glory Hunter, Stricken by Fate, all from the first album. The Laugh, Conqueror from Delirious Nomad is another good one.
I think False Alarm is pretty good from the EP.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah.
No, that wasn't produced too well, but it's a good start. You know, you can hear the elements of what they're going to be doing later, and they redid it on March of the Saint.
Yep.
So they polished it up a little bit.
Yep.
So yeah, I'll throw that one in there for an honorable.
I mentioned Isolation. I definitely like that quite a bit from Raising Fear. Another good brooding one.
Let me see. Book of Blood.
Book of Blood is fantastic.
I like that from that album, from Raising Fear.
I really wanted to squeeze Last Train Home in my list, but it just at the
end. That would definitely be an honorable mention. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, not Last Train Home. The one you said, Dropping Like Flies.
Dropping Like
Flies.
Flies.
I had Last Train Home in my list, so Dropping Like Flies would be an honorable mention.
Another Day is another good one.
Yeah. And what else? There was something from Revelation. I got to go back to it. Did you know The Pillar was written for Hellraiser 3?
Yeah, I was reading that before. Yeah, pretty cool, right?
I forgot about that. And they're in the movie too. They're performing. There's just a little clip of Armored Saint there. But I do like The Pillar too. That would be another honorable for me.
Pillar's good. You know what else is good on that album? Den of Thieves is another really.
Den of Thieves, Creepy Feelings.
Creepy Feelings is good.
That too.
And I do like Little Monkey from La Raza is quite good, and Get Off the Fence. Those are two pretty cool.
I have to revisit that a little bit more. I never really liked it. I'll go back to it again more.
And for anybody watching, I would recommend also Nod to the Old School.
Yeah, I was just looking at that one, that track listing.
Yeah, it's a collection of leftovers and rarities and things like that. Also, some pretty solid stuff on here as well.
A couple covers, like they did Never Satisfied from Priest.
Yep.
Which you never hear anybody cover that.
No.
But yeah, there's live tracks. You got a couple demos. Yeah, it's a good collection of leftover stuff.
Yeah, I dig it. Good stuff. Yeah. Good band. Yeah, so many great songs.
Yeah, I think we picked some good ones. If anybody needs an introduction to solid, good representations of the variety that Armored Saint offers.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you've never listened to this band, right off the bat, go and check out the two songs that we both agreed on in the top 10, which is Can You Deliver a Rain of Fire? But man, there's 8 each from us of stuff that we didn't overlap that are all just absolutely fantastic songs. And, this is really not that big of a catalog that you just can't go out and just listen to a bunch of these albums. I mean,
right. And I don't think they've ever put out a proper greatest hits, right? I've never really
not that I know of. No.
Seen one, I don't think.
They've got like 2 live albums, and the live albums are really good as well. So for those live albums that play where they play a lot of these great tunes. So but yeah, a great band. I think one of those bands that for me anyway, like when people ask me like who are some of my favorite metal bands, for whatever reason, they never come up in the conversation for me because you tend to overlook them for some of the bands that are a little bit bigger. But then when you go and you sit down and you think about it, it's like, you know what? I love these guys.
Like you have to mention them with Sabotage, Riot, Metal Church.
Yep. Yeah.
Those bands.
Yeah. They're bands that you don't always think of when you're talking about some of your favorite metal bands, but they're always up there, and you like almost everything they've done, right? It's just it's weird how almost any genre you're going to get bands like that, and that's
a great great history, great career of making great music, great traditional metal, and then like you said, they just get overshadowed by the bigger names, but they're still there. They still do the shows, the tours, the festivals. They still make new music.
Yeah. And you got to wonder, looking back on it now, because they had that big gap, like in the 90s, where they weren't really doing anything, where a lot of other bands stayed together and really stumbled. You got to wonder if you look back on their catalog now, historically speaking, maybe they were better for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like you said, that was when John Bush was in Anthrax.
Yeah.
For that time period.
Which those albums are pretty good too.
Which the Anthrax ones?
Yeah.
I can't comment on that.
Well, it's 2 of the 3. There's 3 of them, right? Did he do 3 of them? 4 of them. I mean, 2 of them are really good.
White Noise, Stomp. I forgot the other 2. Yeah. I like a few songs from White Noise, and a couple from what's the last one?
Yeah, I don't remember.
We've Come For You All. Well, I think We've Come For You All, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe 2 from that song. I mean, that album, 2 songs. But the other 2, I could do without those.
Yeah, I don't know. My opinions on Anthrax have changed quite a bit over the years. I used to be a really big fan, and I've soured on them so much.
I love Bush as a singer, like we said before, but his home was Armored Saint. And when he joined Anthrax, it turned into a different Anthrax. And it lost all those qualities that you really like from the Belladonna years. They tried to be something else and stay current, and it just, I didn't like it. Turned out to be too noisy and, too screamish and metalcore-ish or whatever you want to call it. I don't know.
Sometimes these meetings,
too Pantera-ish,
Yeah, I thought the first album they did together was quite good. But then, a little spotty after that. I mean, let's face it, in the long run, when you look back on it, did it really work for either of them? Maybe not. He's
No.
still, for my money, he's still the best singer that was ever in Anthrax, but maybe not the best fit for
I
what.
prefer Belladonna.
Yeah.
Still. Yeah.
Belladonna has, I mean, that's who you associate with that band, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of people who are always asking, when are you guys going to rank the catalog of Anthrax? And I'm like,
I would do it.
You would
I'd
do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what it is? I don't really, I had like most of those on LP or all on LP back in the day. I only bought like one of the Bush era albums ever. I think I have one of their more recent ones. And I listen to Anthrax nowadays and I'm like, I can understand why like a teenage and 20-something-year-old me was really into that stuff.
I say
in my mid 50s now, I listen to Anthrax and I'm like, this doesn't do much for me anymore.
Even the newest album?
Yeah, it's okay.
With, oh my God, what was it called? It's so good. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a great rebound. It recaptures those qualities from those Belladonna 80s albums. Yeah. Even Persistence of Time. And there's like one or two songs as well that capture the energy and the arrangements from the Bush era too.
I'll have to read it.
I think it was Blood Eagles or something like that. I don't remember the title, but that's one of the songs off the new album that's kind of Bush era Anthrax.
I'm someone who back in the 80s, spreading the disease and, all those couple albums, I listened to that stuff to death. I saw them live every time they played anywhere in the New York area. And then I don't know, something just like turned me off from their music. And I was like, I never went back.
I could see what you're saying about their 80s stuff because it was definitely that fun, playful skater kind of crossover thrash, even at times,
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
Back to the topic at hand, Armored Saint. So everybody in the comments below, feel free to give us your 10 favorite tracks from this great, great underrated band. And, let us know what you think of our choices. So this is on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Rich, you want to give some links where folks can find you outside of SOT?
Yeah. Metal Asylum, Brave Words, and the Metal Hall of Fame, and the Monsters Den with you.
Monsters Den here on Sea of Tranquility, and you're going to be appearing on Steve Keeler's Rock Fantasy Files, right?
3 favorite Ozzy albums solo.
So that's coming.
Yeah, that's I think next week.
Next week, cool.
And then we're doing a Monsters Den 2 for, what was the topic again?
Oh yeah, so we're serial killer classics.
Serial killers, yes.
Yeah. So that's coming up next, and for all of you who loved our Animals Attack show, we will have a part 2 coming up after that one.
And that Anthrax album was For All Kings that I was thinking of, the most recent one. And I was right, it's Blood Eagle Wings. That's the title of the one song that's kind of Bushish.
Gotcha.
Era of the band, which is good.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. For Rich Catino, I am Pete Pardo. See you all tomorrow.
Have a good one.